Winding down. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Boom, and welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Goose Creek Retrievers. I'm Jeff Stanfield.
The new one, huh?
Yep.
Mr. Matt Peel, up there in God's country with Stoner. I'm the world-famous Andy Shaver. Need no introduction.
And on the line with us today, and on YouTube with us today, is the world-famous Ryan Graves from Mayfield, Kentucky. How you doing, Ryan?
Doing good. I don't know about world famous, but I'm here.
Well, we had someone accidentally quoted Andy as the world-famous Andy Shaver, and it went right to his fucking head.
Listen to me, Ryan. This big boy over here has been the one that's pumped this more than me. I have adopted it just because I like to lean into things.
Yeah.
I don't want to
just roll with it.
I don't want to get. That's exactly right. I just roll with it. If they want to, talk shit, I'll roll with it. That's fine.
He's world famous, and I'm just fucking old Jeff over here is what I am.
Just old Jeff.
Yeah.
So
because if you can bat it, it'll just get worse. So just accept it. And
that's exactly right.
well, he has done that.
You've been in a duck blinder a duck blind or two before.
yeah, a few days.
Don't do you no good to battle when somebody's fucking with you. You might as well just go with it.
No. So you just accept it and move on. If you got a good rebuttal or something, just right then's not always the time to use it. Just put it in your back pocket, and there'll always be a time and a place for it.
That's what I love about goose and duck hunting so much is just getting out there, and I think that's one thing that it teaches kids is just how to kind of laugh at things, roll with the punches, maybe just let some shit slide, put it in the back of your mind for later use, and just get some exposed to things. More so, hunting's good for a lot of things, but jacking with kids, teach them a couple life lessons.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the crew that I hunt with, day in and day out is, like I said, we were going to put a hook on the back door of our blind because that's where you got to hang your feelings when you get in because, I'm telling you, and nothing's ever forgotten.
No.
You can mess up one time and it's still going to haunt you, 10, 15 years down the road, nothing escapes.
So you grew up around Marion, Illinois. So you grew up around the world famous Sullivan brothers, Matt and Brian.
Oh yeah. I know Matt and Brian. I know Matt better than Brian. Matt's a few years older than me, so Brian's, several years older than me.
So
I'm 42.
So you've hunted with Matt a few times in your life?
Actually, I haven't. Like I say, he's 3 or 4 years older than me, so we always run in different circles. And there's, like I say, there was one time that I was actually going to hunt with him, and this is a funny story. Everybody's got funny Matt Sullivan stories, but no, we never hunted together, and I don't remember where I saw him at. Maybe it was a DU banquet or something. He said, asked if I wanted to go down to Horseshoe and hunt with him. Me and my buddy Jay, and I'm like, that's cool. I just mainly always hunted around Crab and Union County, and had never really made it down to Horseshoe. I'm like, so yeah, I'd like to go down there. So, I don't know. It was like 2 or 3 nights before. He called, and in the typical Matt stuff, he's like, well, there's a bit of a problem here. I'm like, oh yeah, what's that? He said, well, the bank called and they want me to park Oscar in their lot for a little while. So, and Oscar was probably like a 94 or 95 S10 that had been, I know I think he had it when he was down there guiding for y'all. So and this thing was beat all to hell. And I'm like, what do you mean? That's not paid for.
They didn't just give that to you with a hot dog.
He had it took a third mortgage out on it.
But man, tell you, he's something else. I don't know how long it's been since y'all have seen him, but I can promise you he's not changing a bit.
He hunted with us a couple of years ago for a couple of years, and then I know he had the famous stroke this winter.
Oh yeah.
I guess he leads off everything with I had a stroke. So
yeah. Oh yeah.
Did he really? He really?
I'm telling you,
really did have a stroke.
The thing is, he's he's never serious, and he's never gonna be serious.
No.
And they're in Marion. like our 6th grade reading teacher his name was Terry Reagan. He got arrested and for child molestation and child porn and all that stuff. And shit, I'm 42, and this is when I was in 6th grade. It was like around the time when he was arrested, and like he still has not given up on that Terry Reagan stuff. Like,
Matt?
it's still, if you follow it on Facebook and stuff, I mean, there's still going to be at least 2 or 3 Terry Reagan jokes a week.
So that's what he's talking about, is this child molester guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you've seen Terry Reagan or Tito or Rendy was his wife, or any talks about like Terry also ran the concession stand at the city pool and the ballpark. So if you ever hear him say that he's, his life hadn't been right since he had his first job at the concession stand at the ballpark, that's all related to Terrence, Tito, Terry, whatever.
I never got the inside joke, but everything makes more sense now that you're explaining it.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, I mean, they've even got, he's even got a Terry Reagan Facebook page. So.
I gotta go look at that.
Jesus. Matt gave me one of the best moments as an outfitter that I've ever had. One of the most frustrating moments I've ever had too. I was about my 3rd year, it was my 2nd year of having guides work for me other than just me and Tony. And I learned a lot. I was young, 24, 25 years old, and I got these guys working for me, and I don't, you don't have no worldly experience at 24. There's like 24-year-olds that think they're the smartest sumbitches in the world, and they're not. You got to learn with time and experience. And so Matt comes in my office one day, and I've told this story multiple times, comes in my office. The customer comes in first, and he shuts the door in my office. And that's when them, oh, fuck, somebody's fixing to get an ass chewing, and it's going to be me about something. Mm-hmm. And he goes, Jeff, I'd like to talk to you about Matt. I thought, oh, fuck, what did he do now? And then Matt opens the office door and said, sir, can I speak to you a minute? And that guy says, I'm talking to Jeff. I said, Matt, close the door. Matt closes the door. The guy goes, Jeff, once again, I'd like to talk to you about Matt. Matt opens the door. Sir, could I just talk to you for a second? I'm like, Matt, let the gentleman tell me what the story is. I'll talk to you later. Closes the door. The guy starts again. Same thing. Yeah, Jeff, I'd like to talk to you about Matt. Matt opens the door and interrupts again. Sir, can I just talk to you for just a second, please? I'm like, Matt, close the fucking door. I need to talk to this gentleman for a minute. Closes the door. Guy starts in again. Matt opens the door again. Finally goes, no, I want Matt to be in here when I tell you. Well, let's get this over with. So he comes in there, and the guy says, Jeff, I do not appreciate being called a motherfucker. Understandable. And this is exactly what Matt said. Sir, I didn't call you a motherfucker. I said you remind me of a motherfucker. I mean, what do you say? I mean, I did not know what to say.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I mean, I don't know how the customer reacted, but I mean, like, I can imagine he probably like was just, whatever, gives up.
I was floored. I mean, I didn't say you were a motherfucker. I said you reminded me of a motherfucker. Oh, that makes things so much better.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you clarifying that.
Like,
so when you were in Southern Illinois, did you get exposed to a lot of Tim Grounds growing up?
Oh yeah, like I say, Tim was a good friend and mentor. Like I said, I actually didn't grow up like in a hunting family. Like I say, being born and raised there in Marion, like it was, something that was, everybody did from time to time. Like, my dad and grandpa hunted some, but like my family was more into racing and all that. So, I went a few times before I was probably got my driver's license. And when I got my driver's license, it's like when I really got, serious about, the hunt. And I remember driving up to Johnson City, 10, 15 minutes north of Marion. And like, I circled like Tim's like neighborhood like 5 times before I worked up the balls to go in, knock on his door and say something to him. But man, once I did, like, come on in. We watched football, and like I say, and we were good buddies from then on. So, that's a bad deal. I really miss Tim.
I've heard that. I've heard a lot of people say that about. I didn't know Tim personally, or anything like that, but very generous with his time, from what I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, he was very generous with his time. He was very generous with his resources. Like I say, Tim had some flaws. Like I say, we all got some flaws. But I just, I hope everybody always knows like just how generous and giving Tim was. He had a memory like he could meet you one time then and still remember your name, 10, 15 years later out of all the people that he met. But Tim was he was generous to a fault.
Mm-hmm.
And like I say, he was never nothing but kind to me. Like when in 2006, when I left Marion and came down here, Tim was one of the, said, hey, bub, you ever need a place to come or hunt when you come back home? Doors always open. And I never did. And like I say, I wish I would have. I hunted with Tim a good bit, up until I come down here. But after I come down here, I just didn't go back and hunt all that much, and kind of regret it now.
So what made you switch? You said that you didn't grow up in a hunting family. What lit the fire under you?
Well, like I say, growing up, I was in a racing family, but man, even if you weren't, if hunting wasn't your thing, I mean, everybody was aware of it in Marion. Like I say, and even though I come from a racing family, my dad was a gun nut. We shot sporting clays all the time, and we went on. And mainly the thing was, is I didn't have, like, coming from a family that didn't have land or weren't hunters and stuff. I didn't have anywhere to go.
Right.
It's like, I've was always kind of had an interest in it. Then, and a few of Dad's, friends and a girlfriend's dad took me a few times. That was probably like 94, 95. Then, like I say, yeah, probably 93, 94. Then about 95 is like when, I had a friend, invite me to go that had a steady spot. Then, like I say, in hell, it's been hammered down ever since.
It's amazing how, having that steady spot and having a couple good hunts
Yes.
and being able to put some shit together makes a lot of waterfowl hunters.
It does, because like before I had an interest in it. I'd buy the Whistling Wings videos, and I had Tim's videos, and but I might have went once or twice a year on an invite. So like I didn't have, I was pretty much just a knee booter, so I didn't have it. I didn't know what to try to learn and this, that, and the other. But then when we got where we were going on a regular basis, it was that's what really got it going.
So you're quite the historian, from what I understand and from what I was reading and stuff. I got a question, and people ask me all the time.
Yes, sir.
I'm a reader. I like to read books. What are some? I think I love Nash Buckingham stuff.
Absolutely.
Who else would you put on par with him to be good, easy reads for people that don't want a how-to book? Because I don't want to read a how-to book. I like to read stories about hunts and back in the old
I
days.
say, Nash Buckingham stuff is great. As far you kind of have to be a little bit more of a seasoned reader into the waterfowling to really appreciate. But one of the few books that I tell everybody to pick up is the first one would be the Outlaw Gunner.
It's a very good book.
Outlaw Gunner. Then the one that really started it all for me was a girlfriend in high school. Her mom bought me for Christmas. They bought me the Last of the Market Hunters by Dale Ham.
Another good book.
Yeah, and like I say, and that's I ended up going to college up in Western Illinois University along the Illinois River Valley, just because reading that book, like, just really, I wanted to go up there and investigate all those areas that I read in the book. And I did. I went to college up there pretty much just to do that. So. My parents thought I had a better law enforcement program, but but really what I wanted to do was go up there and hunt. And season came in a month earlier, so.
What when you talk about old calls and stuff, tell me the history on the duck call. When do we go back to where the first people were really using duck calls?
Well, there's kind of a few schools. Like I say, in the 1860s, there was a call come out. It's called a tongue pincher. I don't know if you've ever seen one. They've got it's like a horn bell, and it pretty much makes the sounds of like a diver call more so than anything. So that's that was the first patented call that came out in the 60s. But as far as a duck call for what we know today to be, it would be a toss up between Fred Allen, from Illinois, and Charles Grubbs, who's in my mind the king of all waterfowl. Like I say, Charles Grubbs claimed that he came up with the first call in 1868. Fred Allen claims that he did in 1963. They were butting heads. but it probably was Fred Allen. Like I say, because his first advertisement, showed up in the sporting collectibles journals and stuff like that in the 1880s, as to where Grubbs's didn't until it showed up in like 1891.
What?
But the first commercial call that Allen came out with, it was all nickel plated, and it lasted a very short amount of time because it would stick to your lips. You got cold or wet.
Fuck.
So Grubbs probably, as far as what we know a duck call to be today, like with a reed, a wedge block, kind of like the real foot style call. They call them the real foot style call or the Glodo style call, but in reality, historically correct way to say it would be the Grubb style. So I mean that would be who really got the ball rolling, and those were the guys that did it for the commercial market. There was the Glodo family from Southern Illinois that was obviously making calls before the 1900s. Victor Glodo, he gets the credit for being the grandfather of duck calls. He was just west of Marion, Carbondale, Murfreesboro, down in the bottoms, a little area called Fountain Bluff, and that's where the Glodo clan lived, and they were all market hunters. In the 1880s, the Corps of Engineers levied up their hunting grounds, ruined all their market hunting. So Victor Glodo jumped ship and went to Reelfoot Lake, and his brother John Nicholas went to Big Lake in Blytheville, Arkansas. So when Glodo went to Reelfoot, that's what started the Reelfoot style duck call. So I guess my point in saying that is, all the history goes back to the state of Illinois.
The big guy, the guys back then, like I said, were market hunters, and I would assume the to sell it to the public, you were having to deal with wealthy people, because that's the only people that really probably could afford to be a member of a hunt club back then, or to have.
Yeah, absolutely, and I mean that's what it was. You either hunted for a living or you were rich and did it as a hobby. Because all of the earliest duck clubs, Swan Lake, Senatchewan, Hennepin, all those up in the Illinois River Valley, those were all, to my knowledge, formed, and all the members were, the uber rich, businessmen from Chicago. But like I said, the Glodos, they weren't really making calls for the market. I mean, they would sell a few here and there, but I mean, hell, they didn't have the money to get in Forest and Stream and order a $1.25 call from Fred Allen. They were resourceful people. They made their own stuff.
$1.25. That's what it cost.
Hell, that was
probably so. Like I say, I've got all the earliest advertisements and all that. Like I say, it was, actually that's probably high. It probably would have been a quarter.
I wonder what that was equivalent.
But, like I say,
I wonder what that was equivalent to at the time, like today's money.
$50.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. Probably $150, whatever it costs to call and get a new duck call.
That's probably what I was figuring too. First commercial decoys. When did we start seeing those?
First commercial decoys, I would say. Well, I think they was. It would have been the late. Obviously the late 1800s. I would say probably the 1880s. But up until 1935, wooden decoys were, they were used in addition to live decoys. You could use live decoys until 1935. It's like everything was pretty much a free for all. Everything was pretty much free for all till about 1903. Then from 03 to 35 is when things started to really go downhill as far as bag limits and stuff. But yeah, like I say, you might have a hunter that would go out and he might have 10 or 12 of his live decoys, and he might have just another 6 to a dozen wooden decoys to fill in the rest of the spread. But yeah, there's, like I say, the Stevens brothers, Grubbs, Grubbs made decoys before the 1900s. George Sibley was making decoys before the 1900s. The list could go on. So, but yeah, probably in that era. I know there's some few decoys in some old collections that date back to the Civil War era.
Well,
and the first, and the oldest decoys that everybody's aware of, I don't know if you've ever seen them before. They were found in Lovelock Cave and out in Nevada.
Yes.
They're 3,000 or 4,000 years old. Canvasback.
Yes. The canvasback.
What's that decoy worth?
Oh, those are in the museum. Those are in the Smithsonian or something.
So no
So
private collector will ever get that.
they aren't publicly held, but as far as decoy values, it's hard for if you're not immersed into the hobby, like it's hard for people to imagine what some of this stuff sells for. Like, as far as decoys go, the most that I know one sold for in a private transaction was about $1.1 million, and that was a sleeping pintail drake by Elmer Crowell from East Harriet, Massachusetts. And as far as at auction goes, a Lathrop Holmes merganser sold in the neighborhood of $850,000
So
a few years back.
private's the way to go. If you can get you a private buyer, that's the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but it's got to be, and the thing is, the woods aren't full. The woods are full of decoys, but the woods aren't full of, $500,000 to $1 million decoys. There's got to be, it's, I don't know that some of these other decoys would sell for more privately than they do publicly, but that decoy there was, it was obviously very special.
What made it so special? Was it who carved it, or was it in good condition?
Yeah, like say if you ever got the time to Google Elmer Crowell, you look at his stuff and it's like you just want to know like how in the world did he do that
back then?
It looks just like a live bird sitting there. But if you'll ever Google like say Elmer Crowell and look for the Dr. Phillips pintail drake sleeper. He made it for a wealthy doctor on the East Coast by the name of Dr. Phillips, and it's probably one of the finest decoys there is. And I say, and there's a slew, and I say the woods aren't full, but there's seems like a decoy or two sell every year, for over the $500,000 mark. Back in 2014. One of the greatest guys I've ever had the privilege to know. His name is Jay Cucci. He was from Washington, and he had terminal brain cancer. And he had, this would have been in April, and I think he died in June. And watched him pay like $750,000 for a Mason wood duck decoy. And knowing that he had his just a few very little time to live. So I'd say some of the most popular decoys, somebody wanted to research them would be the Keynes brothers decoys. Like I said, one of my best friends and collecting buddies is John Stevens that owns Rich and Tone. And one of our good friends is Dick Mcintyre, probably one of the most well-renowned decoy historians and brokers in the country and collector as well. We went and did a few episodes of R&T TV. I guess it would have been back in 2019 on the Keynes Brothers decoys, and Mr. Mcintyre has several of them. And the last one that he got, it sold for. It was over $700,000.
So is it just a garage sale that these people find these decoys at? How do they come into contact?
Well, that one there belonged to the Yawkey family that owned, part owners of the Boston Red Sox. Mm-hmm. But like I say, the Keynes brothers decoys, it was, a lot of these decoys, and the thing is, it's not just how nice the decoy is too. It's having a solid provenance on it.
What's that mean?
The Keynes, the provenance is like, being able to track its history. Okay. So the Keynes decoys, the Keynes brothers, they were guides, at Hobcall Bar, I can never say that correctly. Hobcall Barony in Georgetown, South Carolina, which was a major, duck club for the wealthy out there. And those were all made out there. And like I say, and I got to go to Hobcall Barony a couple years ago, and it's neat to go to the old hunting lodge and all that and see where the Roosevelts and Eisenhowers and just all the affluent people, which, I'm not one that gets my rocks off by, famous, but it does make the hair stand up on your neck a little bit when you're in a house that, this thing hasn't really, it's kind of a private museum now. The public's not open to it, but, they haven't really updated or anything since the 50s or 60s. So I mean, it's pretty neat to go in there and see that kind of stuff. But like I say, those decoys were, I'd say the Yankees owned. I believe the Yankees owned part of that area down there in Hobcall Barony. So those decoys had been in their family for years. So so having that Yawkey association and stuff like that will, for an example, like a few years ago down here, I found a couple Charles Walker Pintail Drake decoys that belonged to a friend of mine. He thought they were junk. Like, I walked around the corner, my knees buckled, and I saw them. Like, and
give you $10.
But anyways, up until that point, there was 4 Charles Walker Pintail Drake decoys known, and they was selling in between $40,000 and $60,000. Now, granted, the 2 that I found were not in as good a condition, but they were still very, very nice decoys. But the ones that I had, sold for, in the 20s to 25, because the main difference was on the ones that have sold prior, it had the shareholder to the Duck Club's number stamped on the bottom of it. It had just for instance, be the number 25 or maybe 22. I think that was the Walker Jolly rig. There was a Jolly guy, the last name of Jolly, and his share number in the Princeton Game and Fish Club was 22. So these guys, they would take their share numbers and stamp the share numbers in the bottom of the decoys so people knew who they were. The 2 that I had didn't have any share numbers in the bottom of them, so their history couldn't really be traced.
Right. That makes more sense.
So provenance is huge.
That is amazing. I have a hell of a collection of decoys of the $100 to $150 range decoys. My kid, I got a lot of them, but I love to collect from people that I know, or just I don't, but I'm not spending that kind of money. I would rather buy 6 decoys at $250 a piece than to spend $1,500 for a decoy, because my grandkids are going to probably end up selling them anyways for 3 cents a piece, so it don't matter.
Actually, I mean, maybe a little more than that. They might trade it for beer money.
I hope so. I hope I'm raising them right at least.
I have a friend of mine that's given 2 of my boys a shotgun that a guy's given him, and they're over-unders, because he knows his grandkid's just going to fucking pawn them anyway, so he's going to give them to somebody that'll appreciate them. But that's sad that in our world, that is, I've got all kinds of stuff I've collected over 30 years in business that I hope I'm here for 30 more years, but I want my grandkids to have something, and if they want to do it, they can do whatever they want with it, but I'm going to leave them a good collection of shit. But I couldn't imagine having a decoy that's worth $1.1 million.
Now, did these people that...
Oh, I couldn't either. I mean, hell, I'm a school teacher, so like, so and being as immersed into the hobby as I am, it's kind of odd that a lot of these functions I go to and stuff, like I'm around some of the most affluent and wealthiest people in the country, and ask what I do. I mean, I'm a special ed teacher.
Well, I raised 3 of them. Now, I wish I'd have had a teacher like you in school. What an interesting man. I see all these duck calls behind you. For everybody on YouTube, you can see these duck calls behind you. What's your most, what to you means that, what duck call means the most to you? Not the most expensive, but which one do you have that means the most to you?
Honestly, it would be hard for me to pick out one, because, to kind of get back to what I was talking to before, like, I'm not a wealthy person. I don't come from money. I don't have a silver spoon in my mouth. I only collect high end stuff, but they all mean really something to me, because, there's people that can go out there and buy this stuff and not have to think anything about it. I'm 42. I started collecting when I was in college, so 18 or 19, and I probably have 400 duck calls. But every one of them, I have probably bought and sold and traded over 15,000 pieces of things to be able to own the ones that I do. Like I say, this is not money that comes out of, my paycheck or my wife's paycheck. I mean, there's times, believe me, I've had my wife, she's a teacher as well. So we both get paid on the same day each month, and we've been 2 or 3 days in payday. I'm like, look, don't spend a dime. I've drained our bank account. But like I say, but my wife trusts, and she knows that I'm good at what I do, and I'm knowledgeable, and I'm not going to ever put my family in a situation. But I'm like, just give me 5 days. I promise you, I'll buy you a new MacBook or something.
What's the best buy you've ever come across?
Oh, I've come across some good ones. One of the ones was back probably in 2011. And I will say, and before I even go forward with this, like, everything that I have within my collection is paid for itself. Like, I mean, it's so, I've always had to kind of to do, stuff like that to pay for it. But there with social media, Facebook, smartphones, there's no way that I could ever do again what I've done to this point. Like, because, there was times, I would write on my hand, be home at 7:13 to log into the desktop to get on eBay, to do something. But now every swinging dick's got the eBay app on their phone, and, it gets an alert, 5 minutes before it goes off. And, and just say they haven't checked eBay yet, um, you got 4 or 5 guys that'll plaster them all over. If something comes up on eBay, nobody knows what it is, they'll plaster it all over it and tell God and everybody that it's there. So, so my days of doing this stuff or of finding, great deals is over. But, to get back to your question, like back in 2011, it was just a summer day. I was, like I say, and the wife and I both teach, so we're off in the summertime. So I was just checking eBay like 150 times like I used to do. And one of the times I looked on there and there was some Vern Taylor duck calls and Vern Taylor was from East Peoria, Illinois. And at the time, there was only about 10 of them known to exist. And coming to find out, the story was like a CVS pharmacy or something had bought the old family home in East Peoria, was knocking it down. So the grandson went up there and there was like just some old boxes and they were full of duck calls. He was putting them on eBay 4 and 5 at a time for $250. Buy it now. Mm-hmm. And before it's all said and done, I think I had like 20 and a half of them. One of them was missing a stopper. I think there was like one lot that I wasn't able to get to like fast enough, checking out and somebody else got. But, I mean, I probably had $1,500, $1,600 invested in all of them and they did me well.
Yeah. I was going to ask how social media has changed kind of what you do, if it's made it, and you answered it. I mean, it's made it infinitely harder just because so many people see it.
Let's go back. Hold on just a minute now. What's a Vern Taylor duck call worth?
I mean, there was 10 of them. I found 20 of them. So, I was pretty smart about it and didn't tell anybody I had them when I went to sell them, so I thought I just had one at a time. But, anywhere from $1,500 to $2,200 a piece.
It's pretty good change in your money right there.
That's what you do it for there.
That buys them MacBooks.
And exactly. And that's what, and the other thing about it is, when I first started collecting these calls and stuff, I collected old. Yeah. I used to collect baseball cards and all that stuff, and I would go to flea markets and I'd buy all the old duck calls that I see. You get them for $2 and $3, and they're mainly all olds. And I just had them, and Phil Robertson duck commander calls. If you're the old square label ones, if it says patent pending on them, those were his first ones. Mm-hmm. So I would just buy all these and I hoarded them. Like I had, you would think that I could read the future and knew what I was doing, but I honestly didn't. So around 2008 to 2010, y'all know when the cut down craze duck call deal was just going stupid, and everybody was, everybody was spending big money to get these things modified. Well, I mean, I had nothing invested in these things, and I'd put one on eBay, and some of them were selling for $200 and $300 a piece. And I was doing this one after another. And then the Duck Dynasty deal came out with the Phil Robertson calls, so I was doing the same thing on there. So, but I just took all that money and invested it back into the vintage stuff.
I wonder how much, because a buddy of ours turned Phil Robertson's first duck call, and he's got it. Wonder what that would bring.
I don't know. I mean, it. People would think like, man, that thing's got to be worth, big money. But as far as vintage collectors go, that call wouldn't be too appealing to but if you could find somebody that was really into the history of Louisiana waterfowl hunting, that would be a significant piece for them. But I mean, it's going to bring a couple $1,000
Well,
at
it's
least.
part of my inheritance, so it's going to go in my collection.
It's going to sit up here and collect West Texas dust until the lodge burns down.
That'll be okay.
Yeah, I mean, that would. I mean, honestly, it's worth more than that for all your clients to come in and say, that was the first.
That's exactly right.
There's a whole story to this too.
Yeah,
someone didn't get paid for their work,
which is why he still has.
He has the call.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, like you said, there's a whole story around it, and like whenever clients walk in,
and that's what and like I say, and those stories are important.
Yeah. No, and exactly what you said. It all depends on finding the right buyer. Something like you said, the call that or the decoy that sold for $1.6 million. That got in front of the right set of eyes that had the means of doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, and I don't know if there would have been, if that would have come to auction, I don't, to reach $1.2 million, you have to have at least two bidders.
Right.
So, I don't know if there would have been a second bidder on it, but basically, like, I guess it was, this decoy is for, and a lot of times too, like, if somebody, I do a lot of, brokering and consulting and stuff for other collectors. But first and foremost, I'm a duck hunter. Like that, if it wasn't for ducks and mallards and Canadas and stuff, like I wouldn't have any of this stuff. There's people that collect for the artistic value or and that's not me. I collect because I'm engulfed with or just immersed into the history of the sport and just waterfowling in general. But man, you wouldn't believe the people out there that collect the stuff I would say half the people that collect these high end decoys and stuff. Some of the smartest guys I know about decoys have never duck hunted in their life.
That's crazy.
Wow,
it's folk art.
That is nuts because I love it because I've got my skin in the game and it's meant something to me since I was a little kid. The magic with it. And I just can't be in that. I can't imagine being that much into collecting anything that I don't have some skin in. But, a lot of them people are the ones with the money too.
Yeah. And even for me with collecting, like, I collect mostly pre-1950 stuff, but specifically the stuff that I collect comes from areas that I have hunted and I'm familiar with, And unfortunately or fortunately, I guess however you look at it, I've been blessed to hunt all over the country. So like I've got, stuff from everywhere. But, I will not own a duck call from that like for Minnesota instance, they got some great history on the calls. I don't own a Minnesota duck call because I've never hunted. I mean, I've goose hunted in Minnesota, but I've never duck hunted in Minnesota. And, so I mean, I've got to have like an intimate relationship, I guess, with the areas and stuff that some of this stuff comes from for it to appeal to me.
Do you think anybody's making anything today that's going to be worth a shit 50 years from now?
Man, I want to say yes, because like I say, some of my, best friends have a skin in that game, of being, modern call collectors, but then on the other hand, I'm like, as an economics student, it just doesn't make sense for it to be,
right.
Like all the guys that collect all these new calls and stuff, like, I mean, more happy to, and I want everybody. I don't care what you collect, hopefully the people that collect, the stuff that I'm per se not interested in, they use that as a gateway to get into the stuff that I am interested in. But, like, I just don't see how some of this stuff will have value when there's an endless supply of it. And also too, and like there's no mystery, like a lot of the stuff, the allure to it is having to dig to find the information about it. Like, all the new stuff, like you can just pretty much type it in on Google and find out whatever you want within 30 seconds.
Right. I think this in the real world we're living in is also a perfect carbon copy of what you're talking about. in today's society, if you go into a lady's kitchen and you look through her drawers, everything in there, her cabinets, you're not going to see anything in there that's freaking collectible. You go into a lady's kitchen in 1940s to 1950s, and everything in there is a collectible. Everything. Today, there's nothing. There's nothing today made that's a collectible. Hardly. I mean, you might have.
Yeah, hey, that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
But I will say, I mean, and there's calls and decoys that meant they're very well made, and very nice. The guys are making, every day that sell for phenomenal money, and I'm tickled pink for the collector to enjoy that, and even more for the guy that's benefiting from doing it. But like, deep down, I just don't know how that will like, man, when there's just tons of them out there, like,
Right.
and I don't see how, but
we're losing. There's no history to. It feels like we're in such like a dead zone as waterfowl hunters. There's no history to it anymore. There's not, back in the calls, the days of the calls that you're collecting, you had the market hunter, and there was just this whole allure around waterfowl hunters, and I think we're kind of missing that today for anything that we're using.
I agree, and that's why I collect what I do, because like there's all that stuff to study,
right.
And to learn about, and to immerse yourself into thinking about, and like there's just it. I mean, I have so many of these old calls, and they're so folky and stuff. I like to sit in my den, where I'm at now, and just sit and look at it and think like,
Yeah.
man, and some of them will have like little carvings and stuff on them, and in the checkering, on a lot of them, like, they didn't have, Denbart tools and all that stuff to do this. And just sit there and think about, did this guy carve his initials in this call when he was sitting out there in the duck blind?
Right.
There's just so many stories that they could tell, and unfortunately, I'll never know so many of them.
You would rather go on a shopping spree at Abercrombie and Fitch in 1920 than you would in Cabela's in 2020.
Oh, what are you talking about? Hell, I'd hold my sister down for somebody to be able to go into Abercrombie and Fitch in 1920.
Wouldn't that be amazing though, with all the stuff?
Oh, yeah. And I don't even have a sister, but that's just a.
You would hold Matt's sister down. You would hold her down.
Oh my gosh!
But the difference is, well, first of all the young listeners here, they have no clue that Abercrombie and Fitch used to be a sporting goods store.
I didn't up until a couple years ago.
I put that on Facebook or on Instagram the other day, and the messages I got from that, I honestly did not realize that very few people do that.
Yes, there are very few that do know that. That's right. But to go back in time then, and what's funny is now you're seeing there's a big push of guys, and I think they're probably, I'm 53, so 53 to 40 and up, from 40 years old and up, you're starting to see a group of guys that are wanting to go back and relive the days back in the deal. They're wanting to go to the Filson clothes, which Andy's a big we're Filson people, but they want to wear the old rules.
Got a Filson hat on right now.
They're wanting to wear the.
And I will say, like, that the Filson fad that's been going on, like, I've been wearing my Filson hat for close to 20 years now, and have had my Filson stuff for. I love Filson stuff.
See, I'm 7 years.
I've always been immersed in the history of this stuff. To me, it was just kind of a nostalgic thing to wear.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. But it's starting to get where there's people that are wanting to go back, and I had a group of guys last year that helped me, some younger guys, and they were wanting to hunt over some old wooden decoys. And it's nice to see some people wanting to kind of go back and appreciate what we have now. Because if you walk into Cabela's today, there ain't a damn thing in that place that you don't want to give to pass down to your kids other than a gun. Nothing.
Oh, you're exactly right. Yeah, and I'm kind of personally at my age, like, I'm a bit of an anomaly when it comes to, vintage collectors, and like, like the majority of my friends that I have in this stuff are in their 60s or 70s. But like I said, I'm kind of an anomaly. I mean, I've always been a history buff, whether it been, United States history as a kid. And, like when I collected baseball cards as a kid, I only collected the older ones. So it was just kind of natural that I leaned towards this direction. But like, there's very, very, like, like my buddy John, like he's probably, I'm 42, so he's probably 46 or 47. He's probably one of the next youngest in line that in terms of being the youngest that collects the vintage stuff, that is die hard vintage stuff. But I think it all comes with age, like I see the same thing you do, like and I think it's just you're kind of growing up, people's kids get older, you kind of just, that's when you start to kind of think about the past and get nostalgic about it. I think that's just something that comes with age, and and 40 seems to be that mark.
Yeah, I've kind of got an old soul about me, so I got on the Filson train. Well, I'm 32, 33. I don't know how old I am. So in my mid-20s, I got on the Filson train just because I've kind of, I grew up out here, and, I saw kind of the older nostalgia feeling, and that's kind of how I wanted to dress, and maybe, hand my kids down some at least halfway decent clothes, better than some of the other shit you can get, at Cabela's and everything. I feel like
exactly, and Filson stuff is just, and like I say, and I've always been into the drab colors, and and I've noticed that's started to, to really become popular, and I say the Filson hats, I've got one of the old Filson hats, and I've, I don't know that I've probably, in the last, probably at least in the last 15 years, it's probably not been on my head for a duck hunt because maybe 3 days. Mm-hmm. And it's usually just because it's too hot to wear it. But I'll tell you, that joker by the end of duck season, making somebody smell that thing could be an interrogation technique. Man, it can get rough.
Yeah.
What kind of gun do you shoot?
Man, I've had a time of guns over the years. Back I graduated college in 2001, and my dad bought me a Winchester X2 because we was always Winchester people. Like say, even though I didn't come from as much of a hunting family, my dad's always been a Winchester gun nut. So one of the ones I shot when I was a kid, I had a Winchester X1, and I had a Winchester 20 gauge 101. So when I graduated college, Dad bought me an X2, and I would still be shooting that gun to this day. But it was like 2011 or 2012. It got to I was having horrible light primer strikes, and so I sent it back to the factory 3 or 4 times. And they told me the gun was wore out. I thought, and I hunt a lot, but I thought, Tom Knapp shoots 1 million shells a year through a gun and doesn't wear out. So just say I shoot 3 or 4 cases through one during duck season, once a year. That's not. I just didn't buy that it was wore out. But so I thought, I'm going to buy one more gun, and like I said, I'm just not one to constantly buy new stuff. So I bought a Beretta Explorer, the wooden ones, because it had the nostalgic, and that son of a gun wouldn't eject shells. Like really? They were getting hung on the gate. So went back to Nashville to Beretta a few times, and they finally gave me my money back on it. And I bought a Super Black Eagle 3, and that's been about 4 years ago. And I'll tell you, I haven't had a hiccup with it yet.
So what happened with the Beretta? What did they try to tell you? Was it just a dud they did?
They just, I guess so. They got tired of dealing with it.
Right.
And, they would send it, and, and I was taking it to Final Flight, and, and Mr. Billy, the gunsmith there, it was like he was the one sending it to Beretta, not me.
Right.
So, he was getting really ill too, because he's like, look, not that I didn't know what I was talking about, but he said, I'm a gunsmith, and I can't get this thing fixed. They would send it back and say nothing's wrong with it. The Mr. Billy take it out to the test firing range and fire 2 or 3 shells, and about the third one, it'd always get hung up on the gate coming out. It just would not let it finish. So, and I love the feel of that gun, and I wish I was still shot, but I'm definitely really liking this Super Black Eagle 3.
So I would have never pictured you for that. I would. I'm an over/under guy, and that's what I figured you were going to be.
Or a Browning A5.
I've got several over and under guns that I shoot for sporting clays and stuff like that. But honestly, I would still be shooting that X2. And also too, as far as over and under goes, I'm a river rat. I need my third shell.
Mm-hmm. You get used to it over 25 years.
I'm a third shell guy myself.
I've never missed. I've shot over under so long. I don't even miss shooting a third shell ever at all.
Yeah. See. Yeah. Yeah, like I say, I mean, if I ever had like a small little pothole or something to go shoot, I mean, I've taken my granddaddy's old side by side Model 21 out and stuff before. But now, like I say, um, and the reason I got that Beretta, the one that I did, because it was wood. I thought, it looked more like an older gun
Right.
and had that nostalgic feel to it. And
One worth of shit.
I probably should, yeah. So
What
it was shit.
I have never shot a side by side in my life, and I've always wondered if you shoot as well with it with the one barrel as you do the other barrel, if that even makes that much of a fucking difference.
I've never known. I mean, to me, it's no different than shooting an over and under.
Really?
I mean, honestly, because even when I shoot an over and under for sporting clays and stuff, I couldn't ever tell you which barrel I've got set off to go first.
No, I'm the same way on that one. I just wondered on the left and right. Do they even sell a double barrel these days? A new one?
Side by side?
No, yeah, side by side, over and unders. Yes.
Yeah, I think you can. I mean, obviously they're not real popular, but I think you can still, some of those Russian gun companies and stuff like that, you can still find them.
Does it kick like a rented mule?
Oh yeah, like I said, that Model 21 did. I mean, it had a butt pad on it about the size of two pieces of paper. It rocked me pretty good.
They did not have the inertial driven or whatever the hell Benelli talks about now.
Yeah, but I got friends that they'll shoot 2 or 3 different guns a year. And like I just don't see how they. I consider myself to be a fairly decent shot, and I just don't think that I could, to keep being a fairly consistent shot if I switch shooting different guns all the time. Once I get something, I stick with it. I mean, I've still got my same pair of ankle gaiters that I bought in 1998. I just don't like.
I got the same wife from 1995.
Yeah, well,
what's on your bucket list to get that you don't have?
Well, as far as duck calls go, I've got most of, like I say, and I'm not. There's people out there that are completist. I'm not a completist. I mean, there's ones that I want. There's ones that I don't want. I've got the majority of the duck calls that I want. The one that I don't have is a GD Kenny call, Gerald Kenny call from Memphis. He was. He ran a duck club just on the other side of the Mississippi River in Arkansas, and they're pretty rare. They're not, I've got calls a lot more valuable than those, but that for whatever reason, that one just kind of always eluded me. So I'd say probably right now the GD Kenny. I've got, I've got the Sundown Cochrans and and just this past year I was, if you'd asked me this time last year, it'd have been Victor Glodo, the grandfather of all duck calls. And I was able to track one down last October, and that filled a big hole for me. But on the decoy side, I've my decoy collection is a lot thinner now than it used to be. I've got it. I really want to get it built back up, but when the Sundown Cochran call that I own and the Victor Glodo call that I own came up, like I said, I'm not the one that can just cut the check for whatever it is. So I had to go through my stuff and say, well, nothing that I've got's easy to replace, but what's going to be some of the easiest to replace? So I let several of my decoys go. So, and I'm immersed in Illinois River decoys.
That Glodo call that you talked about that you got, how many of them are out there?
Glodo.
How many of them are out there? How do you spell the last name?
It's Glodo.
Glodo.
Well, you've probably seen like herders for many years ago. They used the Glodo name to market some of their calls. They called them Bit Glodo, VIT Glodo, when the original name was Victor Glodo. But I would say that as far as there's probably a good 8 to 10 of them out there.
That's not many.
That's all that's out there.
No, there's not many.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what makes your collection that much more impressive, is because each one of them kind of comes with a pound of flesh. Like it's not just, hey, I'll just sign this check and, it won't hurt at all. Like there's serious consideration going on your part before you complete a transaction.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I mean, I'm not ashamed to say, like, there was probably a time 10, 12 years ago. I mean, I had, like, and here's the thing about this stuff. When you find it, you don't have much time to think about it.
Right.
Like, and there's usually not a whole lot of negotiations, and there's not a whole lot of, you don't have time. You either buy it right. There ain't going to, one of those, like, let me come back. Let me think and sleep on it 2 or 3 nights and come back. I mean, if you do, you're going to miss out.
Right.
So, but there was a time, 10, 12 years ago, man, I had about 4 credit cards maxed out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how I come up with money on the dime. Like I would transfer it to PayPal and fortunately I was always able to pay it off, pretty quick, and would have to get rid of some pieces that I didn't want to get rid of.
Right.
But man, it's been a labor of love, because like I say, every one of them I've had to sacrifice something to be able to get. Unfortunately, I was able to make some pretty wise decisions up front. But honestly, I tell people this all the time, like, and there's nothing, I have absolutely nothing against, the ones that can just buy whatever they want, don't have to worry about selling everything. But I think I appreciate my stuff more.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, that I don't even think that's a close comparison. Like there, each, I'm gonna kind of talk. It might sound ugly, but to them, it might just be an afterthought. Oh yeah, I got that whenever. But to you, like, you can look at a call and tell the story of what you had to give up or the hoops that you had to jump through to put that on your mantle. Where somebody else that has, just an endless bank account is, it's just an afterthought to them. It's a nice thing on their shelf. It really is.
And like I say, and I've got a journal, and every duck call that I own, I write the story of where it came from and the hoops I had to jump through to get it.
Yeah.
So that hopefully someday, like, right now I've got a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old, and they know how, immersed into the stuff I am, but they don't have an appreciation for it. And, they might sit and wonder why I love the stuff as much as I do. But if they would saw, like, what I've, I'm not saying that, I had to go through, nom type shit to get it.
Right.
But I worked my ass off for it.
Sure. Yeah. And there were probably a lot of sleepless nights thinking, oh fuck, did I make the right decision?
Oh, I'm telling you, there's like, I can, I've had to have a few fire sales, if you know what I mean.
Oscar,
back
to Oscar.
Been in a long time, but yeah, exactly. Yeah. But
has your wife ever told you, "Oh, great, another duck call"?
Man, I've got the best wife in the world. Like, but I always say my worst fear is that she'll sell this shit for what I told her. But in all reality, no. I'm not going to say she's like, loves it as much as I do, but there's always, like, she's always the one barking in my ear that if I think that I'm going to sell something, she's like, "Oh, don't sell it. Just ride out the wave."
Right. That's good. That's good to have in your corner.
Do you get excited? Yeah. Like, I'm sure you've been to Memphis to Pyramid and seen the Ducks Unlimited Museum up there.
Oh yeah.
Are you impressed by any of that, or is that all not that big a deal to you?
They're very impressive collections. Like, but I see this stuff on a regular basis. Like, so, like right now, my buddy Mike Lewis is from Whitehall, Arkansas. That he's got his duck call collection in there. That's what's on display. And, and a lot of the other stuff, man, I love it. I'm not going to be the one that goes in there and just, it's the coolest stuff that I've ever seen. It probably is some of the coolest stuff I've ever seen, but I've seen it all before.
Right.
Right. Would you loan your stuff out to a museum?
Yeah, I would actually, at Richington and Stuttgart, after it burnt down in 2016, John and I talked is like, one of the things that we're very passionate about is trying to get the younger generation to appreciate the stuff that we do. So John's like, let's put a bar in here, and one of the reasons to put the bar in there was we were going to make a showroom for vintage collectibles. So now, so the entire first year that the new Richmond home was open, like my stuff was, all my call collection was down there. All my vintage Illinois call collection was down there, which is about 80% of what I own. So, and I will say, like, as hard as it was for me to let that stuff go for a year, man, I'll be an emotional mess when the kid leaves for college.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'll tell you, I didn't come and sit in my dorm. I didn't come and sit in my den one time for that year that the stuff was gone because my walls were empty.
Mm-hmm.
It just looked like I'd been ransacked. So.
So what's the process look like to get one of these collectibles? Do you kind of have a thought in mind of a call that you want to pursue and then start doing your legwork that way? Or is it literally you get on the right place at the right time, you see that this is for sale, and then that's how you go about it?
Well, really both. Like I say, one of my earliest mentors, Bob Christensen, he was the author of if you don't have it, a great book to read. Because like I say, as far as waterfowling history goes, when it comes to duck calls and stuff, it's all going to be traced back to Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the earliest and the most of everything was, originated from. But he was the author of the book Duck Calls of Illinois. Well, a girlfriend bought that book for me in high school, so, I collected Olds and stuff and there wasn't back then, you couldn't really, it took you forever to get up on dial up on the computer.
Yeah.
And all that. So you couldn't just log on to your phone and so, I mean, I used that book as a guide,
Mm-hmm.
as to what I wanted, but that's kind of how I went about it. But honestly, more so than anything now, when I see stuff, because I don't even have to know who made a duck call to want it. I mean, I've got probably 30 or 40 of the coolest old duck calls you probably could ever see, and I have not a clue who made them, and I probably never will.
Right.
But I mean, each one of them just, I don't know the story that they're telling, but man, people back then were just, I mean, people today, they think they're cool, but man, we ain't shit compared to how cool they were back then.
A lot of character back then.
Yeah.
There was just so much character and honestly, and pride too, just
Yep.
of, because a lot of them were doing this stuff with, they weren't having drill presses, they were making a fire and getting a pole red hot and drilling a hole through a piece of wood with a hot poker, then carving the outside of it with a pocket knife and man, it's just, I just don't see how anybody can look at this stuff and not think it's cool. I just, me and those people, we could go fishing, but we ain't gonna have a lot to talk about.
You're very passionate about it, and we've been pretty fortunate in our podcast. We've had some interesting cats on here, and you with your calls and your knowledge. Pat Pitt, taxidermist out of Memphis, Tennessee, or Olive Branch. I consider
Absolutely.
Pat's the same way about his passion for stuff, and it's great to see your treasures in our country, and we need more of that. And I appreciate you being on here. You've been a very interesting person to visit.
Yeah, yeah. Anytime, like I say, I can. I mean, it's I really don't have any other hobbies outside of duck hunting. Like I don't golf, I don't bass fish. I don't turkey hunt, I don't deer hunt. My life revolves around waterfowling, and and everything that comes with it.
Well, you can definitely tell.
And
definitely tell whenever you talk to you.
Yeah, and just the folks that I've been able to, that I've met through collecting, and the thing is, I tell everybody all the time, if it wasn't for the mallard duck, I first off wouldn't have a wife. I met my wife through duck hunting friends, and pretty much, I might talk to a friend or two from back home, but, once or twice a year, and that's mainly through text message. But, all my friends and acquaintances, it's all revolve around ducks. So, I mean, if it wasn't for the wily mallard or or the big old fat, big heavy Canada, I mean, I don't know what I don't know what I'd be doing.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty much sculpted my, everything that I do.
What before we let you off here, we've kept you an hour. What's your white whale that you almost had, and like maybe you balked at it or said, let me think about it for a little while, and it wasn't there whenever you came back? What would that one be that you almost had?
Man,
it was in your grasp.
I'll be honest with you. I don't have that much willpower to ever say no to anything.
There you go.
I'm the one that does, I'm not the one that loses sleep because I didn't buy it. I'm the one that loses sleep because I bought it. Don't know how I'm going to pay for it.
Fair enough.
All right.
On the truth.
Well,
Fair enough.
Man, I appreciate you being on here. You've been a wonderful, wonderful guest for us to have today. God bless you, and hope to have you on again, in 12 months or something down the road and visit with you again about this.
Yeah, man, anytime. Like I say, I can always talk hunting or calls or Matt Sullivan or anything like that. So anytime, guys. Appreciate you having me.
Hey, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. See you.
Mr. There it went. All right.
Mr. Ryan Graves. Well, what an interesting guy.
Yeah.
Man, I tell you what.
He had a hell of a collection.
I'm embarrassed about anything I have now.
Yeah, you don't want him out here looking at your Fred Sanford shit.
Everybody that comes in and looks at one call of mine, they're like, wow.
Wow, look at that.
That's a ceramic call or what, acrylic call. That ain't got nothing to do. No, he likes old stuff. Steve Barber's got old calls like that. We need more of that stuff, though. And it's true. There's not much that's made out there, no matter how well it's made and stuff. The stuff made today is not many of it's going to be collector's items. It just doesn't have the romance appeal that a old Victor decoy does.
Right.
And that's a plastic decoy.
That's a plastic piece of shit, Jeff.
That's right. No, but what I'm saying, though, but it still is, it's a vintage type deal.
Right, yeah.
But it's not ever going to be worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
But the old wood ones are, and that's very interesting guy. I really appreciate him being on here with us. Very educational.
Yeah, had a lot of fun. Lot of fun. You got anything else?
Nope. We're going to get out here and do our next podcast, and that's really about it.
Wow.
You know Mr. World Famous Andy Shaver?
Jeff, you got to get another joke.
I do.
It's just not very nice.
I understand.
It makes you. It seems tacky.
Does it?
Makes you seem like a bitter old lady.
So I'm bitter because you're world famous now?
That's what it seems like to our wonderful listeners.
Well, what you said about your wife that time on the shirt, really, I mean, you made a very tacky remark.
Blake said that. I didn't say anything.
You said honestly, if it wasn't for me, nobody knew who the fuck Jesse is.
And once
That's
again,
pretty rude.
Once again,
okay,
I was factually correct.
Check out our new sponsors: Goose Creek Retrievers, Bangtail Whiskey.
I do like that Bangtail whiskey. He had it out here this last year. Delicious. I'm a big whiskey guy, Jeff.
I understand you
Put in
are.
my whiskey sour. Give it a little fucking shake.
All right. God bless everybody. Thank y'all. Have a good week.
Check out our sponsor, just like Jeff said. Check out Bangtail Whiskey. Check out Goose Creek, whatever the fuck it's called, Goose Creek Retrievers. Mr. Matt Peel. Check out Blind Grass. They also have, not only do they have camouflage that goes on your A-frame, they've also got dry bags. So check them out. Check out Dive Bomb Industries, Foul Bandits, Gundog Outdoors, Boss Shot Shells, Dive Bomb Industries, Pacific Calls, Dirty Duck Coffee, Stanfield Hunting Outfitters. I don't think I forgot anybody.